He heathens, yeah.
For the people, for the heathenistic people. I like how we have songs in every episode.
We have to sing.
Singing feeds my soul.
Singing really badly feeds my soul.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes me think that actually I could sing, but then every time karaoke night comes, I'm like, I'm not getting up there. You got me fucked up. I don't care how drunk I am. I'm
No,
a shower and car singer.
absolutely, because I don't think you can get me drunk enough to actually go, yeah, that's a good idea.
Dude, I think even if I was blackout drunk, I still would not do it. I will dance in front of anybody, but when it comes to singing, I'm not your girl.
Mm-mm.
Um,
Because I think I'm good, but I know I'm not.
See, the thing is your headphones have noise canceling,
Mm-hmm.
and we've heard you singing.
I know.
Mm,
I'm well
mm,
aware.
mm. That's a fun one. Tell these heathens what we're doing today, Nicole.
Oh man, this is a good one. Religion versus spirituality.
Are you guys ready for this?
I
And
am.
the last episode, I asked you guys to think about Um, what was religion to you? What was spirituality to you? What they mean to you? And yeah. So now that you guys have thought about that and got your answers, let's move on in, baby.
Get your answers out. We're going through the pamphlet.
So, Webster Dictionary is what we're going to start with here. The Webster Dictionary of religion is the belief in and worship of a superhuman controlling power, especially a personal god or gods.
So Thor,
So Zeus.
so Zeus.
The definition of spirituality is the quality of being concerned with the human spirit or soul as opposed to material or physical things. Which I found
Right.
those two. You want me to say it again?
Yeah.
Okay. Definition of spirituality is the quality of being concerned with the human spirit or soul as opposed to material or physical things. I have a lot of thoughts about both of these definitions, people.
Wow. Is that who thinks of these definitions?
You
Like,
know,
who
I
is
feel,
the authority of this?
yeah, who's doing this? Who's got their fucking PhD or whatever in definitions?
I feel like this is why I don't want to ever have a PhD.
I, I'll take a PhD in what I'm doing, given to me by, the universe, but not
Well,
no,
yeah, right.
not no fucking PhD.
I just That's so interesting to me because it's like, okay, for the definition to be true, I would have to be, you would have to be a monk, and that would be it. That would be the only way to be spiritual,
100%
or a
because
nun,
you
or a priest.
only are concerned with your human spirit or soul as opposed to the material or physical things. I don't like these definitions, people. I don't.
We should put those in the
Both of them suck.
trash. Yeah, I know. The other one too, superhuman. What did you say?
Yeah,
Superhuman being?
the belief and worship of a superhuman. But this is what gets me superhuman controlling power, especially a personal god or gods. Yo, what?
Oh, there's so much.
There's so much to unpack there. Okay, so to me, spirituality is freedom to be me.
Hmm.
It's to choose for myself. It's the freedom to question everything, to find the answers that resonate with me, it promotes an experience of connection to something larger than you. That's what spirituality is to me. To me, religion is something that's based on teachings of historical or archetypal people being passed down through like oracle words, like their words, or through, you know, like the Bible, the Quran, things like that. Written text is what I want to say. And it's then worshipped, or you devote your life to those teachings, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for me, spirituality, there's a quote. I found a quote that to me explains spirituality for me very well. Okay. It's from a Japanese poet, and his name is Matsuo Basho. I hope I said that right. But do not seek to follow in the footsteps of the wise. Seek what they sought.
What they thought?
Thought. What they were looking for. Seek that. Don't seek to follow their footsteps. Don't
Mm-hmm.
seek to do what they were doing. Seek what they were seeking. And I was like, yeah, that's a spirituality for me wrapped up in 2 sentences.
Right.
I was like, damn, son. Hell yeah.
Yeah, because I always ask myself, it's like, I don't want you to tell me what to do. I want you to tell me why I should think that way.
100%. That's
Mm-hmm.
like, Nicole and I say this a lot. I don't want to be told no or why not to do something.
Mm-hmm.
I want the reasoning why you're telling me that. I want to know,
The way your brain worked to get to that conclusion.
yeah, how'd you
What?
get there?
Yeah, I want to know how you got there. I want to know the journey.
Right. And then I want to take that information and elaborate on it. I want to think for myself. I want to research. I want to see what feels right to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's spirituality to me.
Right. Well, also, I feel like if we all are in here for a different path and a different reason, because the universe doesn't repeat itself, and we're having this experience, we're supposed to have these different experiences, then I would have to think for myself because nobody else could tell me what is or is not right for me. Like, I can't tell you what's right for you.
Exactly. Exactly. I feel like, okay, I hope this makes sense to everybody because this is kind of how my brain works. So I'm going to try to put it into good words here.
Good luck.
Thank you, buddy. I feel like there's when you look at the word religion, right? There's two different kinds of religion. Okay, stick with me here.
Mm-hmm.
There's almost like two egos, right? You got the capital E, the lowercase e. Two beings. Same
Mm-hmm.
word, two beings, two different meanings. The capital R religion is the control, the telling people. I wrote it down earlier because I was like, oh, that makes sense to me. I finally got it out in words. It's structured, frequently rule-based construct that to some degree governs the behavior of its members almost like a code of conduct. That's
Mm-hmm.
the capital R religion. The lowercase r religion is the I believe in this God. I believe in these teachings, but I also believe in astrology. I believe in energy work. I believe in utilizing other things on top of my beliefs to then create a better space for myself.
Mm-hmm.
The lowercase religion is a safe place, everybody's welcome. The capital R religion is the you're gay, you don't belong here.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to hell because you don't believe in this one thing. That's the
Mm-hmm.
capital R religion to me, where the lowercase religion is we love you because you are you,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what our text tells us to believe in. Does that make sense?
Our text. What is our text?
Whatever text they follow.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was like, wait, what?
Because really, honestly, in my opinion, most religions have universal love.
No, and I agree with that completely because like I feel like the way I think religion is supposed to be and the way religion is exactly like that.
Yeah,
So
two
the what
separate beings.
what if I think is religion where it's all accepting? It's Jesus is like he's like, "Oh, you're a whore, you come with me. Oh, you're a thief, you come with me." You know, like this teaching of what I thought was all accepting and all loving, and it didn't matter of your faults or your um any of that stuff. Like it just they just accept you for who you are and try to make you be a or not make, try to help you be a better person or have balance and peace in your life. Because really that's all we're really searching for, right? Is happiness and joy and peace and balance.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like at some point when people see human beings, when we get to a point where where we have achieved the power that we're trying to achieve, get whatever, um there's a shift that happens, and you can either, and it's a hard one because once you have the power, I feel like it's very hard to wield, and it can become very toxic, and that's why a lot of businesses uh I feel does this. Like they start out and they have this great slogan, and they're for the people and for the good of all of the realm. And then like they achieve that point where everybody's like, "Oh my God, you're so great." And then once they stop doing, or they forget what their main purpose was to do it, then it goes into this like toxicity and like controlling and greedy and uh for their own, like they need more power, and that's the way to get it, you know, like it's a tough one because I feel, and it's an unthought complete, like it's a new thought that I've thought recently just because of all the things I've been going through right now. So it's not completely clear yet of how it actually happens, but it's almost like if you got, we'll say like a drug, like a medicine, and you use it like you're told, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the doctor says that this is for your best interest. This is how you would use it to be well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then you find out if you take more or you receive more, you get a different feeling or a response. So you get this like, uh, you get something you like, but it's artificial because you're feeding it. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going. Never mind.
Basically,
It's
I
too
feel
new.
like with that thought, you're saying like there's a point when it's too much. There's a point
Right.
when you're going to throw your body into overload. You're not going to be making the same things that you need to for your system to be able to handle what's happening. It's going to start causing damage to other functions, to other organs.
It's not
It's
doing you
not
good
doing
anymore.
you
Yeah.
good anymore. When it
Mhm.
was doing you good was when you had that good amount, right? And you didn't coast in that good amount. You got greedy, you took too much. Now your organs are shutting down. Now you have liver failure, something like that. I
Right.
get what you're saying it because that's
It's
exactly what it feels like.
it's this like power, and I get that power is a drug, and I get that, but like there's such a interesting place that I'm not quite sure where it happens, only because I don't want it to happen to me, right? Like if I'm climbing the ladder, trying to be my best spiritual self, trying to be a good human being, where does it go wrong? Because you see these people that get super religious and get super spiritual, and yet they are not what spirituality is like, but they're too far in it to see it. So it's so hard to like how do you not become blinded to these pieces of you, right? Like How do they not
Yes.
become toxic? How do you not become toxic in your spirituality?
Dude, you are fucking preaching right now because I'm like over here like fucking hallelujah, dude. Yeah, absolutely. Because here's what I've noticed. Okay, you guys, I really quick would like to throw this out there. I wanted to throw it out there towards the beginning, but I forgot. In this episode, we're not promoting one over the other. Okay.
No,
We're
no, not
talking
at all.
differences. We're talking open conversation here, critical thinking. We want to just open your mind to both because I have very much over my almost 7 years of doing hair and being around many different kinds of people recognize, and also TikTok right now is making me realize this too. We put a very strong line, super line in the sand between being spiritual and being religious. Okay. And I don't believe in that strong line. I think
Mhm.
a lot of that sand gets mixed, man. I just don't think, you know,
Did we record this?
yeah, we're recording right now.
Oh, okay.
I think that here's what happens. There's fear mongering in both sides, right? There's egos in both sides. Okay. There's a lot of bad aspects to everything in life, as well as there are great aspects. And for me, what I see a lot of the times is that fear. When you have this huge fear of organized religion, okay. You don't want to hear
Mhm.
shit about it. Basically, you have trauma behind that fear. You're scared of organized religion. You think every person that believes in some kind of religion is bad. When you are religious, you have a strong fear of not following some organization or rules or code of conduct. You have a huge fear of what's going to happen to you after you die. You have a fear that people that are spiritual are following a bad entity. There are both sides to the coin, right? So like
Mhm.
what our goal is right now for you guys is to bring light onto both of them so we can start looking at them and start incorporating more things into our daily practices and our daily beliefs in life. Because again, you guys, we say this all the time, we believe in nothing and everything, we question everything. To me, that's spiritual. I'm questioning things for myself, I'm thinking for myself, I'm figuring it out. That to me is a very spiritual process,
Mhm.
as opposed to being told what to do and just following it in any way. Because I will tell you guys right now, that shit happens in spirituality, man. People will
Absolutely.
tell you one thing and they will fight you on it too, especially, and I'm sorry for those that are listening to this that very much feel this, but this is a really hard one. We will be talking about in the future, but feminists. Feminists have a very toxic belief most of the time. That is not always, but they really fight us on this
Well,
idea.
it goes along the same line.
Mm-hmm. Feminist.
Feminist for an idea was created out of a need, right? To empower women, which
Yes.
is beautiful, right?
100%.
The problem is, or where I feel sometimes it leads to, is you think power is like being a masculine. So you take what you think, because we've been only been led by the patriarchy. So of course, like our version of power is this. We've, negated the feminist power about reflection, about being nurturing. Like we don't feel power in those things, right?
Right.
So when you grab onto it because it fulfilled a need of yours, like if you were feeling powerless, now you're feeling powerful. If you don't check that, it will turn toxic, and then you're yelling at the very thing that you're trying to promote, or the reason
Exactly.
why you got in it in the first place.
Exactly.
Because I know feminists, I know really good, even it's just like I know good Christians, and I know, you know what I mean, like it's the same thing of like, it doesn't, you can't put, I always hate it, always hurts my soul when we take a group of people, and it's hard to communicate for me to not put people in groups, to because that there's exceptions to every rule, right?
Yeah.
So, but when you're communicating, it's hard to be like, well, some of them or, do it this way. And it's like, okay, so I get that. But like, there's the point. I think what gets the bad press is the ones that are very in your face, and they have to be very loud. And I do believe that there is some point of a need for that bruteness of it, like that really in your face kind of energy. The problem is when you don't use that sword for the proper use that it was meant for.
Yes.
So if you're yelling at the lady that's telling you to go home and cook and clean because that's what women do, that's really not gonna that's not the right you don't cut her head off with your sword, right? That's not when you bring it out, because that's like overkill is what so it's a very hard to walk the middle path.
It is. And the wow, my like words are not coming out the way I want them to because I have so many thoughts on this, you guys. Like, God, there's so many thoughts here. Just to give you guys some backstory. I was raised in an extremely Christian household. I've said that on a couple podcasts now. Um, I was terrified leaving Christianity personally.
Mhm.
I never had experienced it in a good spiritual way. It was one of those things where, again, I was that kid that questioned everything and I got in trouble for it all the time. Um, we went to 3 different churches in 1 week. We had 2 kids groups that we would go to during the week, and then we'd have 2 churches on Sundays we'd go to. We were very, very religious when I was a kid, and it was really hard because coming out of that, I negated all religion, all of it. I was like, I
Mhm.
don't want to hear anything about anything. I'm not praying, I'm not doing any of it. So I took a step away from that, and then it was still, man, that part of me that questions everything kept creeping in, like, so what, you're just not gonna believe in anything? Like, how are you not gonna believe in anything? Because for me, that doesn't work for me. Some people really truly don't believe in anything and whatever works for you, you know?
No,
Truly, I
I
don't
I I think that's a great place to be sovereign and where you think you're supposed to be. Absolutely.
exactly. And so it was hard for me coming out of religion, then getting into spirituality because I had really went through this phase or cycle, pattern, whatever you'd like to call it, where I really thought I was a horrible person. Like, I had to go through, "You're going to hell. You're a bad person for thinking of anything other than God. Like, how dare you think about yourself?" Because that's what kind of toxic Christianity I was into. I
Mhm.
wasn't in the self-empowerment part of it, where sometimes I have a client that makes, devotionals, and man, she is a very self-empowered, open, loving Christian, and
Mhm.
I enjoy talking to her so unbelievably much because she gives me ideas I've never thought about. So
Mhm.
I hadn't found that. And then I got into spirituality, took this on full force, and for a while in that, it was like one extreme to the next
Mhm.
until I kept going down the path, kept getting deeper, kept learning more and different kinds of things within spirituality and some forms of religion to the point to where I'm at now, where it's like kind of easy to walk a middle path because I could see outside of everything in some
Mhm.
form. And I'm not saying by all means, I'm not like a master at it. It's hard sometimes still. Cause, like, for example, you listen to Joel Olstein, and I will never forget, our friend was with us when you had said that you were listening to him, and she was like, "Ew." And I was like, "Wait, is that
That's
the
what most
guy?"
people say.
Yeah, I was like, "Wait, is that the guy that's, like, on TV and Sundays preaching and blah, blah, blah?" And you were like, "Yeah." And your idea outside of him was so interesting because you were seeing it outside of the trauma from, uh,
Well,
a
I have a
toxic
weird
situation.
yeah, because like I see and hear and feel it. Like even when I'm listening, because I'm listening to the book again right now. Um, I can see it here, but I'm able to pick it apart as it's coming in. Like when he says like the one true God, like I don't have to be offended by that because like I can take that and maybe he doesn't quite. Well, I mean, technically, I don't actually know what he thinks that that's like. So, is it I'm allowed I'm allowing myself to take it in a way that makes sense to me. So if he says one true God, then I am a daughter of the one true God. I think of that as the light of creation. Like I think of that as that big bright white light up there that I bring down when I do my ritual magic. So I don't just because he says one thing, I don't have to take it as that. Plus, I can also like digest the stuff that I really need in it.
Yeah.
And that part I just don't need. And I don't need to fight and I don't need to prove I'm right either.
And that's a hard thing to get to, you guys. It's about really healing. Like when we talked about in our episode on trauma, you know, you got to get through those traumas to heal them, to be able to get to a point of basically not reacting negatively, not being bitey about it, not being like, well, I'm not listening to that. All he's trying to talk about is this or that or this, so that you can maybe hear it in a different way, like you were just saying, and take it and make it your own.
Well, because especially if like somebody tells you to read it, it's not like I always feel like spirit is always talking to me, right? And it depends. And especially if I hear it like maybe twice in a week or close together, enough where it creates a pattern. And then I'm like, okay, so two different people just said this. I have to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or spirit is leading me to it. I don't have to do it. Um, so there's an epiphany in there that I need. It's like treasure hunting. There's an epiphany in there that I need, a piece. The next stage, the next step of my spiritual journey is in that book. I need to find it. So I'm digging through all this stuff, looking for that, like, aha, I found it
Right.
moment, right? Although it is, I'll tell you what, it is. But he makes good points. The one I'm reading right now is The Power of I Am. And he puts it in a very digestible way of like thoughts about about manifestation. And of course he quotes it with different words, but if you take the core essence of it, it's very digestible and it's very easy for me to understand on how like it's taking something that's so complicated and unformable into a more digestible way that I understand it.
Yeah, it's like having a fancy plate of food in front of you, and you got some parsley and some other shit just designing the plate, and you got to move all that shit to get to the actual food. It's kind
Mhm.
of like the same thing. You got to
Right.
just pick off the pieces that aren't digestible. You're not going to eat it and put it in your mouth to get to the food, the core.
Mhm. The core stuff, yeah.
It's like you can take it in and digest it, like she said, you know?
Well, because you just never know where spirit is, and you never know what I feel. I feel like there's always something somewhere, even in the shows I watch, even in the like um things I read, if it's short, if it's long, like there's something in there that takes me in the right direction of where I'm supposed to be.
Right. I feel like right now in society, what we're seeing a lot of is the bickering. I want you guys to keep, if anything, this in mind. And I would love for you to, when you hear something that hits you hard, or you're like, well, just keep in mind there are no absolutes.
Mhm.
No absolutes. Sometimes I have to do that too. I'll hear something that I'm like, wait, what? And then I'll have to remind myself there's no absolutes. We got to
Mhm.
think about this. Critical thinking, man. Gotta
Critical thinking, right.
we got to think about this. We need to research this for ourselves. We need to understand where this is coming from.
Well, especially if you think about the bickering and whether, you're on this side or that side, it's if you step back from it, both parties think they're right and think they're doing the best they can, right?
100%.
They think they both are trying to do what they think are right. And so that in turns makes both of them right.
Well, and it all comes down to universal love, man. Each side of the coin is thinking they're saving the other side of the coin
Mhm.
because they love technically if you break it down to brass tacks, it's love. They want to see you doing good.
Yep.
And if you keep that in mind when you're talking to somebody that's really amped up, fired up about what they believe in, and you're like, okay, this person right now, even though it might feel like they're attacking me or my belief system, they really believe in what they believe in, and they're just trying to quote unquote save me.
Mhm.
And that alone helps you to understand, okay, this is coming from a place of love. It might sound aggressive just because there are feelings involved when people have beliefs and anything ever,
Mhm.
but they're just they love me. They want
Right.
because they believe in this so heavily, they wanna see me on the same path.
Absolutely. Because it's done such wonders for them,
Yep.
and they wouldn't understand why anybody would choose anything else.
Yeah.
Same, right?
Yeah. My grandma's a great example of this when I got into, our pagan spirituality, cunning magic, all this stuff world. Um, my grandma at first had a hard time with it, but then she really opened up to it, and it has been
Mhm.
a really phenomenal thing because we talk about, like, what happens in church sometimes for her. We talk about, she made me a Yule log 2
Oh,
years
that's
ago for
awesome.
Christmas, a cake Yule log, which was really cool because she looked it up. And this year, she was looking up, why we have, different Christmas decorations, and she sent me this whole article about wreaths. And she's like, "Did you know that that was pagan?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did." And she's like, "That's so cool. Like, I didn't know, why we did that." Like, she's just opening up. She still believes in her beliefs, but she's also open to now hearing other things and then questioning it, you know? And I
Right.
find that so cool because she's still at the core who she is and what she believes in. But she's adding
Mhm.
little snippets in that make sense that just keeps expanding her knowledge.
Yeah, it's so cool to see people especially when we figure that some people are very stuck in their ways and this is really what we want for everybody is just to open their eyes a little bit and their heart and really hear what the person next to you is saying. They're not saying that your beliefs are wrong. They're not trying to um I mean if they love you and they have your best interests at heart, right? They just don't understand.
Like, listen, you guys, if my dear friend here was a religion with a capital R and was coming after other people because of who they love or what they do because it went against her capital R religion, you better believe I'd fucking say something. That's different, right? Because if you were coming after people because they love the same sex, oh, I'd be saying
Well,
something.
I mean, if I was, it depends. Because really, at this point, for me, um, what good am I going to do? Am I going to teach him? Am I going to make you think a different way? You're going to see the light all of a sudden? Is it really going to change him?
For me, it has before, just because of different hard beliefs that my family had where it's human on human hate.
Mm-hmm.
It has worked before, but I mean, it's different in every situation with every person. But
Mm-hmm.
but for me, yeah, I believe in that fight because I'm like, no, you're hurting them for no reason because they're living a different lifestyle than you. That's not okay.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it at least I think it's worked where it seems more accepting, or more maybe not even accepting in the way that they're like, yeah, that's fine, do what you want to do, but at least they're not coming after people anymore.
Right. Well, and if you're talking about family, the people that already love you, it's a little easier to like sway them to your, not sway them, but like show them a different side. Where like if we're talking about, somebody that's outside of an abortion clinic or outside of, a gay rights clinic, well, I don't know, it's clinics.
And
Gonna, oh,
or like
forgive.
somebody on TikTok making some video.
Yeah, like I'm
I
not
get what
gonna
you're
like,
saying.
I'm not gonna like, would I love to punch them in the face? Yes, but like they put me in jail for that stuff, so I kind of have to think twice about that. It would feel great, and maybe they would learn something. But also, are the consequences worth the action that I'm and really, like, what they teach is to be a little more passive on that kind of thing. Now, if you're actively beating somebody up for and this would be anything, it wouldn't even matter. If you're just actively beating somebody up, that would be where I would step in and make a difference because I just they're changing their minds, but they came to their conclusion in their own way. So changing a belief is so much harder than changing an idea.
Absolutely.
And we don't know how to like it's almost like a well-woven rug and we're pulling at one string that's like knotted in there. You would have to unravel the whole thing. And then you're unraveling their whole idea of life in general. And you could really fuck some people up that way, right?
Right. See, I feel like one of my favorite things to do, and it's more for myself than it is for others, is when somebody has such a strong, I mean, this is a hill they're gonna die on idea and or belief. I just want to get down to that knot and understand what's knotting it, just so that I know, because I'm curious as to like what.
To me, it's not enough education. It really isn't. It's really the fact that they are regurgitating. If you have to fight so strongly for an idea that you don't understand, like that to me is that you're trying to um what's the word I want? You're trying to kind of like look over here because
You're
you don't have
gaslighting.
you're gaslighting. That's exactly it. Thank
You're
God we share the same brain.
Yeah, you're gaslighting yourself and others into believing what you believe, and you're going to believe that even though you have no foundation underneath it. You're gaslighting.
Mhm. Cuz I love nothing more than to have a conversation, a constructive conversation with somebody with the opposing view. I think that's an amazing
Same. Same. It's so enjoyable. Like I
it
said,
really is.
we want to get down to what is making that knot. I don't care about this fucking one string you're throwing my way. I want to get to the knot and know what's tying it up. I want to hear that. I want to know that. So then I can
Mhm.
like look at that and deconstruct it and consume it for myself and understand.
Absolutely. Because that's I mean, if we're doing a religious like if we're being religious people, spiritual people, whatever you want to, go with, it's about understanding. It's about understanding where they are. It's about understanding why they're that way. Because again, the universe would not repeat itself. It's not going to like, it wants to have all these different experiences. I mean, even looking up a lot of the stuff with religion and spirituality, the first thing that I came up with was the fact that spirituality has no rules and religion has rules. That was like the boiled down
I have
version
that
of it.
too.
Mhm.
I have that too because uh you know what? I will say though, just so you guys know, some spiritual groups and practices do have rules as well. But when you get down to the sola practice of spirituality, there's no rules unless ones that you self oppose. impose.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Because, like, this is not a hate on any religion or spirituality, but
Oh, absolutely not. Like, I love them all. I think they're all great. Like, I think they could be used for greatness. I think they clearly have stood the test of time. They have books that are sacred. Like, they have words of power that we've used. Like, you know what I mean? So it's not like there's any right or wrong answer in this whole episode. It's not like that at all. This is literally like, here's what's out there. Make a decision for yourself and change it and think about it and change it again.
and
There's
all I
nothing.
was going to add to that is that people that impose rules on each other can get fucked, dude.
Well, that's just about control.
Rules that I have on myself have nothing to do with you and your beliefs or what you want to practice, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Which really, do I have any rules on myself? No, because I'm a fucking heathen.
Heathen.
I'm a heathen, people.
Let's see here. What else do we have about? Oh, I did find it interesting. Religion is about going outward, going in, and spirituality is about inward, going out. Also picked up something about how spirituality is like what you do, and religion is how you practice it. Like, it's the borders and stuff like that, which I totally agree with that, because I feel spirituality is very watery.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have a form. It has no
Exactly.
rules, right? It's got no boundaries.
Yep.
And then religion gives you like the cup to put it in.
Yeah, spirituality can sound very scary coming from basically guidelines. You
Mm-hmm.
go from guidelines to no guidelines, and sometimes that doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel spiritual to you, and that's
Mm-mm.
okay. That's what I was going to say to that too, is like, you know, most most religions, I would say, offer very safe spaces for people. They give them rules to live by, and that feels very safe for some people. And it really works for some people. Some people are like, have these rules they live by, love one another, don't do anything you wouldn't want done to you, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Buddhists even have rules to live by, like, and it's all, to me, I'm like, damn, dude, that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds, sometimes I'm like, damn, that sounds easier than trying to figure out my own rules for myself.
Well, I some of it too, I feel like is like not just so much a rule, like a hard fast rule, but a uh suggestion, because you do have free will.
Mm-hmm.
It's I feel the rules in it that have been placed there by man are the ones that do the most detriment, because they don't necessarily they have we have this whole thing where they some of them have their own agendas.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that's been the beauty for me about finding the people that I've found in my spiritual group. Um, my group is full of solo practitioners. Our group is full of solo practitioners. We all do things, even Nicole and I do things differently, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and have different belief systems. And we talk about it all the time, which is like really cool to me, because like if I get a new idea, she'll sometimes challenge it with her own idea, and it's not to go head to head, it's to be equal in like thinking of like, damn, that was actually a good point. And then sometimes I do that for her too, or you know, she'll get this new
Mm-hmm.
idea and I'll be like, well, what about this? And it's like a, well, what about, as opposed to, no, this is what it is. So it's like, I feel very lucky in my spiritual journey to have found a group like this, because most of the people that we are around have very similar beliefs, or if they're different, they respect that they're different, and we
Mm-hmm.
talk about it. And I feel like for me that helps branch my um mental threshold, my spiritual threshold, helps branch it out more.
Mm-hmm. It helps to have like these different kind of backboards, if you will, to like bounce stuff off of. Even if I'm, if I'm working out a thought, like there for a while I was working out violence. And I was like, okay, so if violence is bad, why is it here? And then if it's here, then but then we went to nature and you see violence naturally, right?
Mhm.
Like the lion eating the gazelle, like that's a natural violence. And it made me think, like, do we need violence? But I don't want to say that because then, like, what I've, unearthed was like, no, we're trying to get to this peaceful, like, society that has no violence. And I'm like, basically I was trying to think this thought because I was like, if the goal is to be a spiritual society or a peaceful society, how do we do that? Because clearly what we're doing is not working, right? So, because it's just amping more violence into it. So, if we need violence, like what would constructive violence look like? Which sounds weird because, like, but we don't want to talk about the violence because we're not, it's bad, it's, evil. It makes me feel uncomfortable. It makes me feel bad or sad or whatever. And, but what if the way to have a peaceful society is to find a constructive way of being violent with it not hurting other people? Or is the definition of violence hurting other people? Like
You know, you probably sound like what when whoever came up with constructive criticism, people probably thought they were fucking crazy too. Like, how do you criticize somebody constructively?
right.
How do you help them by criticizing them? Probably sounds like the same thing, but it all goes back to that whole thing of you and we just want polarity. You can't always have love and light. You got to have the dark too. You've got to incorporate that shit. You can't, because you know what that leads into? Spiritual bypassing.
Absolutely. And then, how we were talking earlier, then it festers. This emotional wound that was put there by trauma is now sitting there. And things that get stagnant, you could do this in the fridge. It's a very easy experiment. I'm sure we all do it. You put something in the fridge and it just stays there. What happens to it? It gets old and moldy.
Yeah.
And if you leave it there longer, it'll probably turn into soup or something. And it's gross and it smells. Well, I feel like emotional wounds and emotional trauma looks exactly that way in the body too. Like it starts off as just like, oh, that hurts. And then it like starts to get old and festers and because it's not good to look at, because it hurts to look at back at it again or to clean it or to heal it, all that stuff is very scary and it hurts a lot and you never want to do that again. But then it starts to come out in different ways, either by vices or yelling at your spouse or, you know, I don't know, just acting erratic. It just pops out like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that goes along with like, we're only going to touch on this, you guys. We're going to have a whole nother full episode for this because I already started getting warped into the rabbit hole that is spiritual bypassing today. Um, but just to bring this up really quick, spiritual bypassing is the tendency to use spiritual explanations to avoid complex psychological issues.
Hmm.
That's as far as I'm willing to go into it in this episode. I would love for you guys for future to look up spiritual bypassing, look up some definitions of it, see what it means to you, and then we'll go into it in future. But a lot of what we're talking about too, or what Nicole was just talking about, is a form of that.
Um, it's interesting because I feel like we do negate one or the other, and we don't feel like we should we have to pick one or the other. And we never think like, oh, maybe if I use my spirituality with my religion, it would have a better taste.
Yeah, and for some people, like I was telling you about my client, she
Mhm.
uses both. She
Mhm.
literally writes devotionals for Christians, but she uses her spirituality in it as well. And it's crazy because she'll get hate mail. She
Oh, I'm
literally gets
sure.
hate mail, you
Mhm.
guys, for putting in there different things like the moon phases, astrology, using your chakras, things like that. She's using her own personal spirituality along with her religion, and she gets hate mail about it sometimes. And it's like, man, maybe that's the flavor that works for her. It feels the best to her, which clearly it does, which is awesome.
Right. Well, and the funny thing is you think about it, those people that are sending the hate mail are I almost feel like a lot of times if you hate something strongly, it's something you want. And whether that's freedom, whether that's they think astrology is cool too in some level of being. Um, it's just, there's a fine line between love and hate.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like if somebody has the freedom to do that, they feel somebody else gets kind of jealous that they have that freedom to do that.
I want to reiterate what you said. There's a fine line between love and hate.
Mhm.
Just like there is a fine, if not non existent, line between religion and spirituality.
They're really the same thing.
Yeah, you guys, this again, just to reiterate as well, this is why I call myself a heathen. Heathenry really makes sense to me. I blend it all, truly. At this point, I'm
Mhm.
blending it all of it.
Mhm.
Like the Bible has a completely different meaning to me than to my grandparents.
Mhm.
It's a different understanding for me than their understanding. Totally fine. But I just blend it all in together, and that's why I say I'm heathenistic.
I always felt like spirituality or religion, the religions of the world, because if you start really diving deep into the religions of the world, you see that they have common threads.
Mm-hmm.
You see repeated characters, like
Mm-hmm.
especially angels. Angels are in a lot of stuff. And they have, like, if you boil them down, they have the same essence.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I kind of thought about that was that either it comes down from one spiritual energy tube and then breaks down into these individual filters.
Mm-hmm.
So either these are the same teachings just through different sets of eyes, and that's how they became what they were,
Mm-hmm.
or they're bigger pieces or they're smaller pieces to a bigger puzzle.
Right.
And that's how we learn to respect other people's religion. That's how we learn to respect our own.
Mm-hmm.
And really, when it comes to religion and spirituality, it is a very personal, a very private thing. And it's one of those things that I don't, unless I ask you, I don't really need to know what your thoughts are on it. Right? Like on that, but on that saying, or on that saying, I literally would love to talk religion with people because I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, I go 50-50. I get it. I literally, if you are open to a conversation,
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm willing to have it. I want to hear about it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to hear
Mm-hmm.
about my beliefs, I'm down too, dude. Like I
Mm-hmm.
could give you some shit that I still don't even think makes sense in my own head, but I kind of believe it, you know?
Right. Well, because at least you're thinking about your religion and thinking about why it's okay. If you believe it, you believe it. That you researching why you believe it is not questioning God.
Right.
It's literally just strengthening your belief.
You leaving religion for spirituality is also not gonna make you it's not you questioning God, because there are a lot of solo practitioners within spirituality that still believe in a God or
Ab-
goddess or whatever they believed in formerly.
Absolutely.
They
Like you
took it with
can.
them.
What we were studying the other day, meditation, and we were talking about abject meditation, which I thought was super cool. But then the second level of meditation was to meditate on these God forces. And I thought that was so cool because it's not about worshiping them. It's about them guiding you through this. So if I'm sitting here meditating on, say, Hecate or, Zeus, or for whatever reason, like I found that really cool to have that experience with that energy, being, whatever,
Yeah,
because that's also a part of God or
absolutely it is.
creation or whatever, right? I don't know. I love all of it.
I do too, and I like talking about it.
Mm-hmm. Angels, I love completely. I use them all the time. They're always around me. Like I don't know if they are religious. I don't know if they, um, they're just really cool. Guides.
Yeah, I would agree. Really powerful energy.
Mm-hmm.
If none of you felt what it's like to be in the presence of an angel or even close to it, it's fucking intense, dude. And you will
Mm-hmm.
100% know what I'm talking about if you work with angels and you ever have one hit you in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool. Um, okay, well, I think we kind of covered it all pretty well so far.
Are you satisfied?
Because if not, guess what, baby? Next week we are
What's that
going.
going?
What'd you say?
Oh, nothing.
Next week we will also be talking more about this subject with our dear friends Rocky and Lucinda.
Oh, I'm so excited to have them on, our first guest.
Yeah, I'm excited to introduce you to these two.
Mm-hmm.
They've basically become like family for us,
Mm-hmm.
like the mom and dad of the group.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And I love them both a lot, and I know you do too. So we're really excited to have them on. I think they both think about things very differently as well as we do, in completely different ways. So it's going to be a really good open conversation for you guys to listen to.
Yeah, I
I
like
think.
the back and forth that we get with them and, having the different thoughts that even like between us and the group, you know, and it really it's really cool to trust somebody on that journey when you're trying to figure your own stuff out. And even though the views are opposing or they're different or they feel different or they're weird, it's nice to know that you trust them. So it makes you kind of lean into the things that are a little more uncomfortable for you because you trust the fact that this would never been brought to me if it wasn't supposed to, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Um, so yeah, next episode is part 2 of Religion and Spirituality with Rocky and Lucinda. And when this episode comes out, happy embolic people.
Happy and Bollock.
Happy beginning to spring.
Everybody plant those seeds for the year.
Also, right after embolic, this Sunday will be a full moon in Leo.
Ooh.
Plant them seeds, baby.
Plant those seeds, get that water ready. Put that
It's
water out.
it's
All
all
your
hitting all at
ADH
once.
all you ADH people, put your water out.
Yeah, listen, you neurodivergents. Sing a song while you do it, man. It helps you do it.
Find a pretty bottle.
Oh yeah, find a shiny bottle, one that feels
Mm-hmm.
good,
Oh
looks
yeah.
good. You're like, I can't wait to get this fucker out in the moon.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so when you're doing moon water though, one thing that I didn't realize early on, is make sure you make sure you take it inside before the sun comes up.
Why?
Because the sun energy is different than the moon energy. No, I thought the same thing.
There's some things, you guys, where I read something and I'm like, yeah, fucking duh. Why didn't I know that? That just is like I couldn't see to put 2 and 2 together. Like, duh. I knew that, but I didn't know that.
I
You
knew
know what
that,
I'm
but I didn't
saying?
know that. Yep.
I believe
Mhm.
that, but I don't believe that.
Right. I also want to get up at, 7 in the morning before the sun comes up and get my water.
Shit.
I'm
I'll
like,
just have
now
some moony sunny water.
I was like, it's moon sun water.
No, it's fine. It's got it all mixed together in one. Are we sleeping? Are we awake? We don't know.
we're just being.
Okay, peeps. We hope you enjoyed this one.
Here's another one in the books.
Another one.
Another one.
Don't copyright me, DJ Khaled. You're never listening to this anyways. Okay. Well, I love you.
I love
And
you.
I will see you in the next episode.
Bye.